Welcome back. Our next guest, Andrea Donsky, is known as the menopause educator by her nearly 300,000 TikTok followers.
Andrea is on a mission to normalize the conversation around the still very much taboo topics of perimenopause and menopause. She joins us now to chat about unjunking our junk food. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me. So nice to meet both of you.
Andrea, I so appreciate the work you're doing for women, especially those experiencing menopause and perimenopause. What led you down this path?
Personal experience. I mean, I was in perimenopause for 5 years before I even knew I was in perimenopause. And then once I turned 47, so I had my third baby at 41. At 42, I started to have symptoms. At 47, I got my first hot flash. And that's when I made the connection about maybe everything I've been feeling for the last 5 years is actually menopause. I didn't even know the word perimenopause. I knew absolutely nothing. And as a nutritionist and educator, I'm like, well, if I don't know a lot about this phase of life, perhaps others don't either. And I was right, which is really what led me to start doing the research and understanding this phase of life better.
It takes a trailblazer to normalize things and to get the necessary education out. And I commend you for that. And I really thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. And I so appreciate having this conversation in the media. For me, it's all about talking about it more. The more we talk about it, the less of a stigma it becomes, and the more we learn. And what's nice, and I know Stephanie, you and I were just talking briefly before we went live, is that there are so many more options nowadays for this phase of life. And what I talk about, my lane is nutrition, lifestyle, and supplements. And there's also the option of hormones if that's something you choose to do. So there are so many more options available to us than there were, many years ago. So it's a great time to be talking about perimenopause and menopause.
Yeah, so let's talk about what your specialty is, food and unjunking the junk food. What are some foods we should avoid no matter what our age, but specifically for women?
Yeah, so when I wrote Unjunk Your Junk Food, which you can see right over here, it was back in 2011. And we found that there were a category of 7 ingredients that we all should be mindful of when it comes to consuming them because we know that it can cause harm to our health. Now, that category of ingredients were high fructose corn syrup, trans fats, monosodium glutamate, food coloring, artificial flavors, artificial sweeteners, and certain preservatives. And we recently added an 8th category, which is seed oils, very much around the work of Dr. Kate Shanahan, an MD, who really looked at how seed oils are creating inflammation in our body. And the reason why we want to be mindful now, when it comes to eating anything, we want to be mindful of what we're putting in and on our body. But in particular, when it comes to food additives, we want to be mindful of these 8 categories because they can either trigger or exacerbate some of the signs and symptoms that many of us are experiencing in this phase of life.
So which are the seed oils?
So seed oils examples would be sunflower, safflower, corn, cottonseed, canola, soy, grapeseed. Dr. Kate has a full list of them on her website. You can Google it. But these would be the oils that you want to be mindful of. And the oils, I always say, reach for good quality oils. The oils that we want to consume would be coconut, olive, and avocado oil, as well as butter and ghee and other ones that that exist in nature.
So continuing on the replacements of healthier options, as a dentist, I get a lot of questions surrounding sugar and sugar substitutes. And they say, hey, doc, are sugar substitutes actually healthier? So are they? What do you suggest for our sweet tooth?
So as a nutritionist, and because I wrote the book Unjunk Your Junk Food, I'm not about deprivation. I really am not, because when we deprive ourselves, then we end up getting it from somewhere else, right? So for me, it's all about that healthier option. And so when it comes to sugar replacements, I'm not a fan of artificial sweeteners. I'm not a fan of processed refined sugar. So instead, I always say, or my go-tos would be something like a stevia, an erythritol, a monk fruit. And as a dentist, I'm guessing you probably recommend xylitol because of its effect on our teeth. So for me, my philosophy is when we know that there are healthier options, everything in moderation, of course, then why not choose those and then see how it affects your body and how you feel after consuming them.
And what are your other tips for unjunking the junk food?
The main thing would be is to understand how to read a food label. That is really where my expertise is and what I've been doing for so many years. So it used to be that we would look at the nutrition facts panel to see how many calories a product had. But the way I look at it is I say that's a secondary thing. The primary thing we want to look at when it comes to unjunking or junk food would be to read the ingredients, because the ingredients will really tell you the full story. Then once you see that you understand what all of those ingredients are, then you can go to the nutrition facts panel and look at everything else, like is there added sugar, the sodium, and etc. So that would be the number one thing, and the message I would love to get out there is to focus on those ingredients, and especially as you go into perimenopause and menopause, focus on eating whole foods. Focus on getting enough protein. Focus on those good quality fats, your fruits, your vegetables, your legumes, right? Your complex carbohydrates. These are what should make up most of our diet.
Anecdotally, what do you hear from women about their best practices for dealing with menopause and perimenopause?
So yes, our TikTok community is absolutely incredible. We get thousands and thousands of comments from the women on our page who share their experiences. And I always say our research is observational and anecdotal, right? So I love that you even asked that question. And what we're finding is that, so yes, everybody is sharing things that they're doing. But in terms of, what we found is that the most important thing is that we know we're not alone. We know that when we connect as a community, we can support each other, we can validate each other. And that has been the biggest thing for all of us. And what makes me so happy about my TikTok page is because we're learning. I'm learning with our community. I learn from our community, and vice versa. So for me, having that community set up on a platform like TikTok is amazing because it just makes us all feel less alone, and it all feels like we're in this together.
Oh, so amazing. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. And again, thank you for having this conversation.
That really was a great topic.
So interesting and important.
Well, that's it for us today on Your Best Self. I hope you all learned something new in the road to finding the best you that you can be.
And be sure to follow us at Your Best Self TV on Instagram and let us know how we can help you achieve your best self goals. Be well, keep smiling, and see you next time.